Hi everyone, Nicholas Buffy here from sunny Cyprus, and welcome to today's tutorial. Now, this particular tutorial is another tutorial based on the web design component of the 0417 ICT examination, the Cambridge examination, and in particular, I'm going to be working on the 2022 paper 3, the June paper. Now, key points I'm going to be covering. Some of the key points we can see here: modifying images and fitting video in table cells. So we're going to do a little bit of Photoshop to modify images, adding a video inside our web page, and modifying the dimensions so it fits within the table cells. Understanding table tags. So I'm going to go over some of the table tags and see what each of the tags means so we can apply them in the style sheets. And looking at the target window, which we put in the head information at the top of our HTML code. I'm going to have another video tutorial. If you look, if it's not there now, it will be there soon, to do with all the things that you need to know about header information and meta tags, and adding those meta tags inside the head section of the HTML code. So let's get started with this tutorial. Now, it starts off with saying, you've been given these files, so you should all have these files here given to you straight away. And it then starts with saying, create an evidence document. And that evidence document, you're going to create it in the same folder, and you need to save it as, and it's got the example here, J2231 evidence underscore your center number, and then your candidate number. Now, to save time, I've already created this part. So if we have a look here, and in fact, let's just carry on reading that, because I always say read the complete section first. It's going to really help you understand. So it then just goes into say, create a new folder called J2231, locate all of these files and put them inside that J2231 folder. Now, to save time, I've already done this, so I will show you where I have that. Here we go. So I've got my folder here with all my files inside. You can see here are my files. I've made my evidence document. So if I open that, I've renamed it properly. I've also added my name, center number, and candidate number in the header. So these will appear on every single page. So that part's already been done. I'll minimize that because I'm going to need it. I've also created my folder J2231 and located all the files it told me to locate and place them in this folder. Any other files which essentially are going to be used for the Excel or the spreadsheet component of this exam, I've left in my main folder. Now, in the question paper, we're going to see the next step is it says, open the file j31balloon.jpg in a graphics package. Edit the image by rotating it 90 degrees clockwise, reflecting, flipping it horizontally. Now, I'm just going to read the whole section. So I always say read the entire question. So I'm going to read all the way up to here before we start the web page part and see what else it says. It then says, save this new image in your J2231 folder in a PNG format using the file name balloon underscore, followed by your candidate number. For example, balloon underscore and your candidate number. So I'm just highlighting the little things which are really interesting and things that I'm going to have to do. Display the contents of the J2231 folder showing the folder name, all file names, the extensions, the file sizes, image dimensions, and for the video, the frame height and frame width. So I'm going to do all of this section in one go. So let's begin. So from here, I'm going to right click on my file, the J31 balloon, and I'm going to say open with, I'm going to open this with Photoshop. Now, in Photoshop, the first thing I need to do here, it says is I need to open, rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. So I'm going to go to image rotation, 90 degrees clockwise. That's going to flip that round. Let me just reduce that zoom there so I can center my image for you. And then the next thing is I need to flip this horizontally. So I'm just going to go over here again, image rotation, and I'm going to flip this horizontally. Okay, now the next thing it said was to save this as a PNG file. I'm going to go to File, Save a Copy. I'm going to select here my type, my save as type. I'm going to choose PNG, and I'm going to give this the name. It wants J2231. No, it actually wants balloon. So it's all small letters. It's got it. Balloon, and then underscore my candidate number. I'm just going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need to save this in my J2231 folder, the one which I created. And I'm going to click on save. and I get this message here, large file sizes. Yep, it doesn't say anything about the size of the file. It should meet any criteria. So I'm just going to click OK. And that part is done. So I'm just going to close Photoshop. Don't need that. I don't need to save the original JPEG. Nope. So if I look here now, I've also got this PNG file. Now it wants me to display, take a screenshot of my folder with the folder name visible. So I'm just going to reduce this so they can't see any of the files I've got there. And I need to change my view. So the view that I'm going to use, and I always use if you want all the details, is go to View, Content. Now, the content view, you can see here, it gives you, look at this one, the video file here, it actually gives you the frame height and the width. It gives you the type of file. So even if you don't have the extensions displaying, that's fine. It displays the extension file type here. It says when it was modified, the dates, and that's what they want. So I'm just going to take a quick screenshot from here. Just this piece here. I don't need all of it, but I do need to make sure that this folder up here is displayed, the folder name. I'm using dark mode. Please don't use dark mode for your screenshots. It doesn't print well. So I'm just going to call this, because it's called evidence one, press enter and paste that there. So there's my first screenshot. I'm just going to press enter to get ready. I'm going to type evidence 2 so that I'm ready for my next one. And I'm just going to click on a quick save. Always save when you do something, and close. All right, so now we're going to go to the next part of the question. So there it is, take a screenshot. We've done that. Now then, here's the interesting part. So this is my web page. Now, I need to read all of this bit here, all the way down to number 3, highlight all the things which are important to me, and only then will I be able to really get a good understanding of what's going on. So I'm just going to drag this into my main window over here. It'll just be easier for me. There we go. Okay, so it says here, you're going to create a web page for Tawara Balloon Safaris. The web page and style sheet must work in any browser. Make sure that your style sheet contains no HTML. Make sure your HTML and style sheets are efficient as efficient as possible. That's the important one here. So we need to implement efficient programming techniques. We'll see that as we get to it. Create in your J2231 folder a web page called tbs.htm. So I'm just going to highlight these, and then I'm just going to do everything in one go. This web page must be created using a single table and must work in all browsers. The table must fit 90% of the width and height of the browser window. The table must have a structure as shown in this diagram. So if we just analyze this structure here, and this is what I always tell my students to do, first thing to do is always extend all of your all of the lines so that you can see exactly how many rows and columns there are, because when you start merging, it gets a little bit difficult to do. So I'm just going to use a red line here, and I'm going to have a look here. So I'm going to extend this line. Oops, if I can draw this in a straight line, that will be useful. Let me just undo that. Right, so let's just do erase there and come back to this. So I'm going to go to draw again, and I'm going to extend this line. Hopefully I'll be able to draw in a straight line now. There we go. That one, that one, that one, and that one. And here I've got a line here. I'm going to extend that out. Okay, so now if I look at this, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows and a maximum of 1, 2, 3 columns. So I want 5 rows and 3 columns. Now, if I've got the maximum rows or number of rows and columns, then it's really easy for me to create this. So I'm just going to delete the lines. The next thing that I'm going to notice from this image is the following. So we can see here these double lines, this one and this one. This basically is the property border collapse, and it's been set to separate. In other words, when you've got 2 cells, if I've got a cell here, if it's border collapse, you see the border of each cell. What if it's border collapse equals separate? If the border collapse equals collapse, then it's going to look like this. So the 2 cells with 1 line separating those cells. So because I get these double lines, I know that's going to be border collapse separate. Okay, other things that I'm going to notice here is the width. So it's using percentages. It's not using pixels. So this is really important. And so this is going to be altogether the width 100%. And you can see that 70 and 30 is going to be 100. The other thing again here to notice is in the percentages, we've got this is the width, that's width. This one, the percentage is height. So it's going by the height, it's not going by the width. Again, here you've got width, width, and this one is height. So it's going to use 10% of the height of that window, of that table. So all of these things are really, really important for you to see and understand before you start working in creating this table. So the next thing that we need to have a look at is, let's read the rest of it. Each table cell is identified with a letter. Some dimensions are shown. These must be set as percentage values. Okay, so that's really important. So they have to be set as percentage values. Do not set the height of cells A, B, C, E, or F. Okay, so these cells here, A, B, C, and F, that one, all of these that just say width, and the E and F, we don't set the height. So essentially what that means is when we're going to place something inside this cell, we're going to set it to use 100% of the cell. So let's say this is a picture. It's going to fill the width of this, and the height of that picture is going to be automatically adjusted, whatever height that is, by maintaining the aspect ratio. So it's going to fill the width of this cell, and the height is going to be adjusted accordingly. Okay, so that's all about the actual table itself. What else does it say? The cell constants shown in the diagram must not appear on your final web page. So we're not going to be entering all these text that it's got in here. Table borders must appear on the final web page. So that basically borders, the borders will appear. Oops, I've crossed that out instead of highlighting it. So borders will appear on the final web page. So when I'm creating my table, I'm going to set these to solid. I'm going to set them to 1 pixel. I'm going to see later on what pixel dimension it's going to be. And it's going to be a solid line. So let's get started. Okay, I've opened Dreamweaver. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, New. I'm going to start the HTML file, click Create. And then the first thing that I need to do is to save this in my folder, which I created at the start with the correct name. So it's going to be File, Save As. And it says that it should be tbs.htm. So I'm just going to call this TBS. It's all in small letters. I'm just going to leave, whether it puts HTML or HTML, it's not really that important. I'm just click on Save. And here is my HTML file. Now, notice I saved this before I did anything else. And this is absolutely vital because when we're going to start adding images from our folder, they're going to be linked from the same default root folder rather than it having to put in a relative path. So very important. Now, with this saved, I'm going to click one time in my WYSIWYG area. Remember, WYSIWYG is what you see is what you get. And the reason is because here you can see my insertion point is outside of the body area. So if I go and create a table now, table, whatever table that is there, it's actually created it outside of this body area here. So it's not going to display my web page. Look, there's no table here. So a quick trick is click one time in the WYSIWYG area. You will see it's going to put your insertion point here in the body tag. Now I can go to Insert Table, and I'm going to create my table as it says. So the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm saying that the rows is 5. We calculated that. We said 3 columns. I've already set this from before, 90, but I want percent. There it is. So I need to make sure this is on the percent. So it's using 90% width. And I've got the border thickness to 1. Now, whether the border thickness is going to be 2 later on the style sheet, that doesn't matter. But I'm going to put my border thickness there because I know I'm going to have visible lines at the end. Click on OK. And I have my table. Now, the next step is to make my table look like this. So I need to see what's merged. The 2 columns which are here. So this is actually, sorry, the 2 cells. A cell here and a cell here is merged together. The same here and the same here. These ones are separate, these are merged, and all of these here are merged as well. So I'm just going to do those very quickly now. So going back to my paper, here I'm going to select all of these. Down in my properties area, I'm going to click on Merge Cells. I can also do this by right-clicking, going to Table and saying Merge Cells. I just find it easier using this link down here. So merge cells. I'm going to do the same for the second row and the third row and the last row. The second from last, that's going to stay split. Okay, so I've got my structure. Now I need to be very careful and go and do these things here now. I need to set the percentages. So we said rows 1, 2 are the width we're adjusting. Same with row 3 and row 4. Row 3 here, and the last one is doing the height, and this one here is the width. So let's go back and see how we're going to do this. Now, a lot of my students always ask, can't we just put the width and the height down here in the properties area? Well, you can, but many times it doesn't work because the cells underneath don't match. So if I select this now and try and type 70% and then click away, you can see it doesn't accept it. It doesn't accept it because more than likely this is split into 3 equal columns, 33.333% each one, and 33.3 times 2 is not going to be exactly 70. So you do actually get these little issues here. And it's always good to learn to work with the code. So I'm going to click inside here. Now, automatically, it puts my insertion point in this part of the code because I've clicked in here. It puts my insertion point here. Now then, if I don't know the code to add for the width, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to adjust the width. Look at that. I'm going to put my insertion point here. I'm going to click and just drag this to change the width a little bit. It doesn't matter what I change it to. There we go. Okay. Automatically, because I've changed the width, you can see some of these cells now have got this width parameter in there. So I can just copy that. I'm going to copy this one, for example, Control C. I'm going to click in this first cell up here, place my insertion point where this one has done. So after TD, it's got the width. So after TD, I'm going to press paste. And there it is. I'll put my width. I'm just going to change that now to 70%. Okay, so that's a quick way of doing it. It did a percentage automatically because the table is set as 90%. Okay, the next one as well should also be 70%, this one. So let's click in here. That's this row here. Hang on, it's actually looking at B. So this one here, yep, that's the B. This one here should be 30%. So I'm going to change that now. So 70, this one's 70 and this one's 30. That's 100%. That's perfect. Let's go to this one. That's the next one. This one, it said 70%. It doesn't have the width, so I'm just going to copy paste that one. Saves me typing it out as well. So I'm going to go there, paste, and change that to 70. This one, let's click on the next one, the third one. So if we have a look, that's the one where we want to be 10% high instead of width. So to come over here, if I want this one to be height, I don't have a height. Well, it makes common sense. Instead of width, I'll put height. But if I just adjust this a little bit like that, now automatically for this one, it's put the height for me. Can you see that? So I'm just going to change whatever number it's put there, and I'm going to put 10%. Click over here. Look at that. It's adjusted. This is 35% width. 35. This one is 35. And the last one needs a height of 10. I could just copy this one here again. Oh, there we go. Control C and V, and there we go. Okay, so now my table is adjusted. All of my cells, even the merge cells, have got the correct percentage. There they are there. And if we look over here, that is 8 marks. Look at that, 8 marks straight away just for designing that table and setting the percentages for each one. Always have a double check and make sure you've done everything right. So let's move on to the next part, number 3. So number 3, essentially here, what it does, it says set the title of the web page to Tawara Balloon Safaris. So I'm going to type this in. So I'm going to go back to my Dreamweaver. I'm going to go to my code. And if we look up here, it's got this tag here automatically. Title, untitled document. So in the title tag, it says untitled document. I'm going to delete untitled document and I'm going to type Tawara Balloon Safaris. And make sure you put the capital letters and small letters exactly as it displays that title. So that's done. That's my default title. The next one, number 4, let me just get my highlighter. Number 4, it says set in the HTML the name of the default target window to underscore new. Okay, now here we're going to do a little bit of HTML code. Again, anywhere inside this head tag, so from where the head opens and the head closes, you need to put the next tag in there, which is the base tag. So I'm just going to go to the end of head and press enter. So I'm within the open and close of the head tag. I'm going to type a triangular bracket there, base. I know it's a correct one because it's identified it there, space. There are 2 properties, target, and here it wants underscore new. So I'm just going to type it in. It doesn't have underscore new, it's got new, so I'm just going to type underscore new. And then outside here, I close that triangular bracket. Okay, and that's your base target there, the base target window. Okay, a little bit tricky that. You've got to know that little bit of code, but it's not that hard. Okay, let's go back to our question paper. Now, here is where we've got to insert the images inside our table, and we need to make sure these images fit in those percentages that we put. So let's see how we do that. We're going to read all of this, number 5, all of this here, just to see, and I'm going to read a little bit more to understand everything that's going on. So place in the cell A, this image, in B, the balloon image saved in step 1, so on and so forth. Here I'm going to put the video. Okay, so I need to put a video tag. And it also wants to display an automated text error message if the browser does not support this video. In E, I'm going to put this image, and in F, I'm going to put this image. Now, I'm going to read on. I always like to read on. Place in style attributes in HTML so that each image with its aspect ratio maintained fits the width of the table cell. So we need to make sure we size these items up here so that they fit within the table cell, within these percentages, these cells here that we've put. That's the tricky part. So let's have a look and see what else it says. Add appropriate alternate text to all still images. So we're just going to put a little bit of an explanation there. Place in cell D the text from the file that, and set this text as style H2. All right, let's begin. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to add the image J31 banner in cell A. And cell A is this one here. This one here is B. This is C, D, E, F, and G. So let's start. So I'm going to click inside cell A, and I'm going to go Insert, Image. And because I saved my HTML file already, and I saved it in the same folder with all my other files, it finds it straight away. So the J31 banner is this one. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on OK. And look at that. Automatically, my image has just blown the proportions of my table apart because this is a really, really big image. No longer am I getting this 90% when I adjust the size of my window, because this image is just too big. So what we need to do, we're going to click on the image. We're going to come over here to the code, and we're going to see what the width is. Now, I don't care about the height. I want, and it specifically said, make sure the images fit the width of the cells. So I don't want the height. And the reason I don't want the height is because I want to fix the width. And if there is no height property, the height will automatically adjust, maintaining the aspect ratio. Okay, so let me not delete the height first so you see what happens. If I make the width 100%, that basically means the image is supposed to take 100% of the width of the cell. So if I click over here now, can you see it fits automatically 100% of that cell? But because I've got the height property here, the height is fixed to 333. And that's distorting the aspect ratio. I don't want it to distort the aspect ratio. So I'm going to delete that height property. And now when I click in here, there we go. Okay, click away, and my table now has automatically adjusted because the image width is 100% the width of the cell it's inside, which is containing it, and the height is being automatically adjusted, maintaining the aspect ratio. So in B, in this one here, I want to enter the image which I saved in step 1. That was the PNG file. Exactly the same thing. And because this was a width of 30%, okay, again, we're going to adjust the size of that image, the width of that image to be 100%. So image, here is my PNG file. Click OK. It's massive. Look at that. It's just totally distorted my table. I'm going to click on the image, come over here, and I'm going to see here the width and the height. Now, again, this cell was based on the width. The image is supposed to take the full width of my table. So I'm going to delete the height property, and I'm going to change the width to 100%. So it takes 100% of the width of the cell. So when I click in my table somewhere else, look at that, straight away, the width is adjusted and the height, well, whatever the height is according to the aspect ratio based on the width. Okay, let's go to C. C is this one here. In C, I want to put a video tag. So this is HTML5 code. I'm just going to click on save very quickly. File save, always save your work. So in here, I'm going to go to insert. I'm not going to put an image, but I am going to put HTML code. So I'm going to go down, HTML, and I'm going to look for HTML5 video. Okay, and it puts the video tag. Can you see that here? So inside this cell, it's now got this video tag here. So I want to link this video tag to my video. So selecting this, going to my properties at the bottom, I can see here I've got source. So I'm going to click on the folder to browse. Here is my video. It's inside my folder and it's only showing me the video files. I'm going to select that and click on OK. Now, again, with the video, I need to adjust the width of that video to be 100% of the width of this containing cell, cell C. So here, straight after the video tag, I'm just going to put another width here. Width equals to speech marks. I could copy this 100%, but I thought I'd type it out this time. And now when I click anywhere in my table, my video is going to take the full width. Now, the height, well, it depends. When it's going to preview the website, the web page inside your browser, whatever dimension that video has, it's going to automatically adjust. And we'll see that in a second. I don't want to put the height again because I want to maintain the aspect ratio of the video. It also said that it wants an automated message to display if the browser does not support this video type. So in Dreamweaver, you can click on the video, go to the properties and just write the text in the fallback text. So I'm going to say this video type is not supported. Okay, and clicking away, we can see here in my HTML code, let me just make that a bit smaller. In fact, I'm just going to minimize that over here, this class A. So if we look at this code here, where I've got my video tag, that one there, you can see now straight underneath after the video tag where there it's put this message. This video type is not supported. And just put any message which is, you know, appropriate for that. So the next part is in E. So in E we are here. So I've put A, B, C. No, we want D. No, I don't want anything in D yet. I want in E, so this one here. So in E, it wants the J31 Serengeti JPEG. So I'm going to go to Insert, Image, the J31 Serengeti JPEG, click OK. And this I'm just going to do a bit quicker now. Again, I want to delete the height. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to change the width to 100%. click somewhere in the table. There you go, it's adjusted. In this one here in F, I want the J31 Maasai image. So insert image, J31 Maasai, click OK. Again, click on the picture, get rid of the height tag, that height property, because we want it to keep the aspect ratio. The width is 100%. Oh, 100%. Is it 100%? Yeah, we're doing the width. Yes, so we're doing the width. Perfect. And that's fine there. So click away. There we go. Okay, now let's go back to our question paper. So which ones wanted the height? G. So I haven't done anything in G yet. So I've got A, B, C, E, and F. Okay, place inline style attributes HTML so that each image with the aspect ratio is made text. So we've done that. Add appropriate alternate text to all images, and in D, enter this. Okay, so I'm going to go put the text. Now let me go put these alternate text in. So here I'm just going to do this one here. Click on this one, alternate text. I'm going to say banner of Tawara balloon safaris. This one here, I'm just going to say a picture of wildebeest. Picture of wildebeest. I'm not sure if wildebeest is actually spelled like that. My dyslexia is kicking in, but it doesn't matter. And actually, I'd rather put picture of wildebeest Serengeti. Oh, Serengeti. And this one here is picture of giraffes Masai Mara. Okay, and so I put oh, this one here as well, picture of hot air balloon. Picture of hot air balloon. Okay, so I'll put my alternative text inside there. There we go. And so now let's move on. So after in D, I want to put the information from J31 text. So D is this cell here. So I'm just going to go to my folder. I'm going to open J31 text, double click, Control A, Control C. I can close that, minimize that, click in here and just paste that in here. And it should be style H2. So I'm just going to select all of this and then go down to my properties area in format and choose H2. Okay. Next, it wants in cell G. So we haven't looked at this yet. So in cell G, the text, this. Click on the images above to enjoy the wonders of Kenya and Tanzania. Web page last edited by, followed by space, your name, center number, and candidate number. Display the text you have entered as 2 paragraphs. So this one and this one should be on 2 separate lines or with a paragraph tag. Set all the text in G as style H3. So I'm just going to do this and fast forward it very quickly. Okay, let's go back to our question paper. Next step, number 10, create a hyperlink from the image j31masai.jpg to open the web page that. Create a hyperlink from the image j31 Serengeti to open the web page that in the browser window that is currently in use. So in the browser window that is currently in use, this one. So let's go here. I'm going to click on the first one, which is the J31 Maasai picture. This one here, I'm going to go down to here, and where it's got the link, I'm going to click on my folder, and I want the HTML file for J31 Kenya. That one, click OK. So that's been added. And for the Serengeti one, I'm going to select that picture. Again, I'm going to go to link, select on the folder, and I want Tanzania HTM, J31 Tanzania. This one, click OK. But this one, it also wants, when they click on this, they want it the page to open in the same window that's being displayed, the parent web page. So for here, I'm going to go to my target, and I'm going to, now you've got some options here. You can use these ones here. Now, if they give you, for example, underscore something, you can just go and type that in directly if it's not one of the options. But basically what I want to do, I want it to open the new web page in the parent web page. So that one there. Number 12, rename the style sheet. So now we're going to start working with the style sheet. So the first thing it does is rename this style sheet here to this, followed by your center number, candidate number, for example, that. So let's go and do this first. Before I do anything else, so I'm going to go to File, Save. I'm now going to go to my folder. I'm going to find my style sheet, this one here. It says to rename it. I'm not going to rename it because if I rename it and make changes and then I want to go back to the original, I won't have it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select Control C, I'm going to do Control V. Now you could always copy paste it somewhere else, and I'm going to rename this one. And this one should be J31 style sheet. And I'm going to put an underscore as it says, followed by your center number, so CY127, underscore candidate number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Press enter. So I've made my file here. And this is the one that I'm going to be using. I'm just going to leave this one here as a backup. In case I mess everything up, I've got the original again. It then says, make sure this style sheet is still in cascading style sheet format. Well, I've just copied it, haven't done anything. Attach this style sheet to your web page. From here, I'm going to go to down here where it says class in my properties area. I'm going to click on this. Now, there are other ways to attach a style sheet, absolutely. I'm just going to show you the one that I teach my students. So from here, class, attach style sheet. I'm going to go to browse. I'm going to find my style sheet. Here it is here, the one with my center number, candidate number. Select, click OK, and my style sheet has been added. And to make sure, I'm going to scroll all the way to the top in the HTML code here. And we can see here in the head tag, again, within this head tag, open, close, we've got this link tag. And it says href J31 style sheet underscore my center number and my candidate number. So my style sheet's been attached as some changes have been made. Okay, so let's go to the next part. Now, here it's all to do with modifying the style sheet. So this whole section now is going to be about modifying the style sheet. And it said, look at that, 27 marks for what we've done for this style sheet here. So what we're going to do in the style sheet here, it's 27 marks. I mean, that's a whole load of marks. So let's get started with the style sheet. Okay, so before we start actually creating the style sheet or modifying it in Dreamweaver, we're going to first analyze the question, analyze all the properties it wants, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time here explaining each of these properties so you get a good understanding of each property. So the first part is this one here. It says, set the background for the web page so that it has a color with blue component D2, red component 7.4, green component AD. Now, when it comes to hexadecimal color, it's always going to be RGB, red, green, and blue, and it must always be in this order. So when we're going to set the color for the tag body, because that's the background, then we're going to have to write this with red 7.4. So I'm just going to do all these. So that's going to be the number 7.4, the red component. Then I want the green, which is going to be AB, and then the blue component, which is going to be D2. So that's the number I'm going to be using. Okay, so that's that part. We could just get rid of that now. Let's go to the next part that it tells us. So in this next part, it says that we're going to set the style, the font, the styles for H1, H2, and H3. So all three of these are going to have a font style which is times CY if that's not available, times New Roman if that's not available. It's going to be the default serif font, and the text for H1, H2, and H3 is going to be black. So we're going to create a style where we're going to have a tag which is H1, H2, H3, and all the properties for the font style and the color will be given to all three styles at the same time. This is efficient programming techniques. So we've got that part covered. Let's move on. The next part says style 1, style 2, H1, H2, and H3. They've got different sizes, so we're going to create different tags for each one of these. We're going to see that when we do the style. Then it says set each table margin individually to 5%. So first of all, let's analyze each part of this table. We created a web page. So if this is my browser, we created a table inside this web page, and we said that this table is going to be 90% of the browser. So if this is the table that we created, okay, this is 90% of that browser window. That means we've got an extra 10%. And what it's saying here is that we want a margin of 5% top, left, right, and bottom. So here I want a 5% margin, a 5% margin. At the top, it wants a 5% margin and a 5% at the bottom. And for the table property, the table tag, we're going to set the margins. So top, bottom, left, and right equal 5%. Okay, then it says set the table cell padding to 10 pixels. Now the cell padding is, if we let's draw two cells here. So these are two cells. Now, if there is 0 cell padding, think of cell padding as the margins inside the cell. So think of each cell as a Word document. We have margins on the top, the bottom, the left, and the right. And that prevents us from writing at the edge of the paper. If I have 0 padding in my cell, and the cells, remember, are the TD tag, so table divisions. Okay, and this here we were working on the table tag. So if I've got 0 padding and I'm writing, let's say here I've got my name. I'm just going to put Nick, and it allows me to write all the way to the edge. And then when I write something in the next cell, it allows me to write it right on the edge. So I'm going to write my surname here, and it looks like these two words are linked together because there's no cell padding to separate them. Okay, so essentially cell padding creates that margin inside the TDs. So if I have my cell padding that looks like this, let's say I've got a 10-point cell padding top, bottom, left, and right. That's going to give me an available space in here. If I have approximately the same size cell and I have a 5-point padding top, left, right, and bottom, that means I can get closer to the edge. Okay, my drawing is not that good, but that just gives me more space inside that cell. Okay, so this is going to be part of the TD tag. Set all table borders and grid lines to be visible, separate. Now, this isn't borders. This is going to be the table tag. We'll see that. So solid, black, and 1 pixel. So how do we do this? Which property is going to handle the borders and the grid lines? Well, essentially, a table has got the table, which is the outside perimeter wall of the table, and the inside TDs. Each TD has its own borders. These are called essentially the grid lines, the inside lines, these red ones here. So the table tag will deal with the black outer border. The TD tag will deal with the borders inside these red ones. So I need to set visible, solid, black, and 1 pixel wide for both of these tags. So I'm going to put them both together for efficient programming techniques. Now, separated, this one here, this is what we saw at the beginning when we were analyzing the properties of the table from the question paper. So we saw that we had these double lines. And we had these double lines because we said that the property border collapse was set to separate. So we get these double lines. If they were not set to separate, our TDs would look like this. So 3 cells will look like this, just 1 line separating them. So here we need to set the border collapse to separate, and the border collapse is controlled by the table tag. okay, because it's the properties of the table, whether the borders are going to be collapsed or not. Okay, the next one here, it says set the spaces between the borders of all the table elements to 10 pixels. Now that basically means here, so if I draw the next cells down here at the bottom, so these are border collapse equals separate. This basically means that the distance, the space between here and here, and the spaces here, the horizontal and the vertical, is going to be 10 pixels. Okay, and again, this is determined by the table tag, because it's the table tag that's going to have the property for border collapse equals separate, and then we also set the property what the distance is going to be for the horizontal and the vertical. Okay, now that we've analyzed this style sheet, we can now generate it in Dreamweaver really quickly. Let's get started. Okay, I'm back into Dreamweaver. What I want to do now is just make sure I've got my CSS designer available. So I'm just going to expand this because I reduced it before. And the little trick I show my students as well, if I want this properties area to be nice and take all of the height of the window. So I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit more. There we go. And you can see that properties area just opens up on the right hand side. Now I've got a tutorial which is the introduction to Dreamweaver, and it shows you how to set up your Dreamweaver interface to look like this if you like this view. So I'm not going to go into that now. The next thing is I want to open up the style sheet. Now, because I've already attached the style sheet that I'm going to be working on to this web page. So here's the web page that I've got open, TBS HTML at the top. And at the bottom, it shows you all of the things which are linked with this web page. And one of those things is the style sheet. So I can click here and I can see the style sheet. I could also just go to File, Open, and open the style sheet. And that would add it as a separate tab at the top. But still, whatever's in here is what's going to be displayed here, because this style sheet is linked to this web page. So I'm going to close this one at the top, and I'm going to work directly from this one here. Now, I can see straight away that somebody's already tried to modify this style sheet, apparently a trainee, so on and so forth. And I can see it's wrong because it's all gray. I can see why it's gray, because we can see here that the comment hasn't been closed properly. It should be //, but even this is wrong. So I always say to my students, delete any style sheet they've given you which they say it's got errors or it's got error. Just delete everything. All gone. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click here and I'm going to add my first tag. My first tag is going to be the body tag, because essentially it says that want the background color to be, and we set the red component, then the green, then the blue. So let's go back. So from here, I'm going to go to selectors, click on the plus sign. I'm going to type body because it's the body tag that I want. Let's get this pad out of the way. I'm going to press enter, and that's going to add the body tag here. I'm going to come over this side and I want the background color. So this is background. Click on this and I'm going to choose the color. I'm going to type the color here. I'm going to enter the first component, which is red 74. I'm not going to delete this hashtag because that's what says it's a hexadecimal number. Okay. Then I want green, which is AB, and then I want D2, which is blue. And I'm just going to press enter. And look at that. Can you see? Because I'm modifying the style sheet from the web page into the component which is linked in the web page, I can see the changes happening live in this page. Okay, back to the question. So we've done this part here. I want to create the font styles H1, 2, and 3 to be times CY times New Roman. If that was not available, the default serif font, and the text H1, H2 to black. So let's go with that now. I'm going to do this very easy. I'm just going to click down here to go to the next line, click on the selector, plus sign, type H1, press enter, and enter again. So I'm modifying the H1 tag. I'm going to apply everything here and then just add H2 and H3 to it. So if I can't remember how to write the code, then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to here where the text is in the properties, go to font family, and just choose one of these which has got at the end serif font, because that's going to be the last one. Select it, and I'm just going to stretch this out just to make it easier to see this code. So it says here font family. This font here doesn't have speech marks. This font does have speech marks. The reason why is because this font has got a space between the two words. So this font has got a name with two words and it's separated with a space. So that it knows where the name of this font starts and ends, it has to be in speech marks. If it's only one word, it only needs one. So I'm going to delete all of this. So actually I want Times New Roman. So I want Times CY, Times New Roman, serif font. So these are the last ones. That's okay. So I'm just going to delete everything before that comma up to here. And then the other font that I want is Times CY. It's got a space, so I need to put speech marks. Times space CY with capital. Okay, and now it says font family is going to use Times CY. If that's not available, Times New Roman. If that's not available, serif. Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh, I also want black, and I haven't done my efficient programming technique. So I'm also going to click here, go to properties, and make sure the text here, choose black, and click enter. Now, because this is for H1, H2, and H3, I'm going to click here where it says H1, type comma, H2, comma, H3. So now that property is applied, these two properties is applied to all three tags. Okay, so now I'm going to click on selector. I'm going to add the H1 tag, H1, enter and enter. It says that heading 1 should be center aligned with a 16-point font. So I'm going to go to my text. I'm going to choose center aligned, and the font size is going to be, I want points because it says points, so PT, and I'm going to choose 16. Press enter, so we can see that's been added there. I'm going to add a selector, type H2, press enter and enter. There's my next tag over here. And this one should be fully justified 12 points. So I'm going to go to my text. I want fully justified, and the font size is going to be PT for points. And we're going to do that. So and you can see in my web page that as I'm making changes, everything is changing automatically for me. And so I can see that this is actually being applied to my web page. H3. And H3, it says it should be left aligned with a 10-point font. So go to text, left aligned with a font size of 0.10. Okay. Next, set each table margin, it says, so this one here, set each table margin individually to 5% of the width and height of the browser window. So it wants individually. Well, let's go have a look and see what that is. So I want the table margin. So that's going to be my table tag. I'm going to click on plus sign, type table, enter. And from here, I'm going to go to this part here, layout. And I can see I've got margin. So this is the top margin, the left, the right, and the bottom. And it wants it individual. So over here in my table tag, I should have a separate one for top margin, left margin, right margin, and bottom margin. So to do that, it wants percent. So here I'm going to click, I'm going to choose percentage. And I'm going to make that 5. And I'm just going to do the same for the next one as well. Make that percent, make that 5. There is an easier way of like linking all of them together at the same time, but I'm just going to do it this way to make sure that each one is added. And you can see here on the left, it's adding them separately. Let's just change that to 5. And then the last 1% and make that 5. Okay, and now you can see my table margins. Each one has been added separately. Of the width height of the browser window. Right, set the table cell padding to TD. Now we said cell padding is part of it is the TD. So to 10 pixels, not to 10 TD. And so I need to add a TD tag. And from here, I'm going to choose the padding. So I want the padding property, I want 10. And it says for all of them, it just says cell padding to 10 pixels. So I can just do this. This is already pixels. I'm going to change this one to 10. So I'm going to show you the other way now. 10. And then I'm going to click on this thing here, which is going to link all of these, what it's supposed to. Let me just change that to 10 again. And there you go. So with that link, when you make a change to one, it will apply to all of them. And when I come here, look at that. It's added all 4 of them for me. So that's the other way of doing it. On this, on the table margin, what we did, we left this unlinked. We actually linked it afterwards, so we had to do it individually. All right, so go to the question paper, and here it says, set all table borders and grid lines to B. So we said table borders and grid lines is going to be the table and the TD. So I want the table and TD for visible, solid, black, and 1 pixel wide. This one is only the table tag we said. So let's go back. So I'm going to add another tag. I'm going to put table again. And the reason I'm putting table is because I'm going to link this one with the TD tag, just like we did H1, H2, and H3 up here. Okay, so let me just press enter. Now, before we added the properties for H1 only, and then put comma H2, comma H3 up here, this time I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to put table, comma, TD. So you can, just so you can see, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go to my properties, and I'm going to modify the properties for the borders, and that's this one here, border. So what I want for my border is the following. I want it visible, solid, black, 1 pixel wide. So width is going to be pixels, and I'm going to change that to a 1. I want style is going to be solid. I want color to be black. So you can see here for table and TD, border is 1 pixel, solid, that. Okay, and that's it. So we can see here all of that there. So now I want to do this one here separated. Okay, so that's going to be part of the table tag. Now, because it's only the table tag, I'm going to go back to table here, this property here. I'm going to click in here, go over here now, and for the borders, I'm going to say border collapse. Here it says separate. Okay, and then border spacing, it's got 2. It's got for the horizontal and the vertical. And if we look in the question paper, if I remember correctly over here, it says set the spaces between the borders of all table elements to be 10 pixels. So we've done this one here, the separated. Now we're going to do this one as well. So here I'm going to make sure that's pixels. Yes, it is. And I'm going to change that to 10. Now, so if I change, hold on, just to escape. In fact, I'm just going to modify it from here. Border spacing. So after I put my border spacing, I'm going to put this one to 10 and this one to 10 as well. Okay, and now that's been done. So essentially now what I've done, I've finished all of this. Correct and edit the comment at the start. So I did this already. I deleted it. I didn't correct it, but it says correct and edit the comment at the start of the style sheet to contain your name, center number, and candidate number. So I deleted that, and I deleted it because it was a mess. And if you didn't know how the comment should close, then you're going to have a hard time. So I'm just going to add the comment at the beginning now. Okay, so at the top of my style sheet, I'm going to click right before body. I'm going to press enter, and I want to put my comment, which has got my first name, my center number, candidate number on this line here. If you can't remember how to put a comment, then here's a little trick. You can go to File, New, and choose CSS, open that, and this just makes a CSS document, and the first thing it puts at the top is a comment. So I'm going to copy that. You can actually insert the comment, but this is one trick that I find my students remember a bit easier. And I'm going to paste that there. Now the comment starts with a /*. Your comment goes in the middle and then //. So here, the CSS document, I'm going to replace that with my name, candidate number, center number 1CY127 and candidate number 12345. So I've added my comment as well. So the next thing that it wants, I'm just going to save this. It says save this in your folder, but it's already there. I'm just going to go to File, Save. And the next thing I want to do is take a screenshot to show the file name and all the contents of your style sheet and place this in your evidence document. So I'm just going to go back here. I'm just going to spread this out a bit. Okay, so I can see all of this window. Now, this is going to be a bit tricky for me because I've actually zoomed my window. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to close my properties. That gives me a bit more space there. And I'm just going to take a screenshot now of this. New. And I want to make sure that the name of the style sheet that you can see here, you can see there's the name of the style sheet with my details and sentinel. Now this I can go put in here as evidence 2. And I'm just going to bring that down so it goes to the next page. So the evidence number is together with the image. I'm going to go down to the bottom and just press enter to go to the next page. So I'm ready for the next one. Make sure your screenshots are easily readable when you print them. Okay, so we can get rid of that. And now we go to our question paper again. So I've done that. It says save your web page, display your web page in a browser. If necessary, resize it so that all the page can be seen, all text can be easily read, the address bar is visible. Take a screenshot evidence showing your web page in the browser. So going back, I'm just going to repair this a bit here, expand that. I'm going to go to File, Save. It's already saved. Good. So one thing you don't want to do is take a screenshot from here. This isn't in the browser. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to Save. I'm going to go to File, Save. It looks like it's saved, but I'm just going to make sure I've got the source code saved as well, because that I've got this saved, the style sheet. I want to save this as well. Save that. And now what I want to do to view my web page, I'm going to go to my file, which is here. Here's my HTML file. I'm going to double click on it so it opens in the browser. Look at that. Can you see? Straight away, everything looks good. Now, to resize this, because this is taking 90% of the window, if I make the window narrower, it's actually going to bring everything up. Now, on this particular screen, because I've got it zoomed in 25%, it's not going to be that good. So I'm just going to come over to this screen. I'm going to drag my work over here, which is a normal size window. Okay, so this isn't zoomed in. And if I now do this, drag that all the way down, there you go. Look at that. I can see all of my web page now. There it is there. Okay, I can see the name of my HTML file. I can see all of the web page, all the border collapse property is separate, my background, everything. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that. That looks perfect. So I'm going to go to new, and I'm just going to take it. And you need to take a screenshot showing the borders, the outside of the window. Okay, so let's go back. It has to have this title bar at the top to show that it's open in the browser. If you take the screenshot from here and it doesn't have that title bar, you won't get the marks. So let's go put this in evidence 3. Evidence 3, press enter. There's my window and it shows clearly. So now I can go back to this window. Let's see the question paper. So I've done it. Then take a copy of the HTML source and place this in your evidence document, a copy of your HTML source code. So let's go back. I'm going to go to Dreamweaver and I want a copy of this source code. So I'm going to click here, Control A, Control C, open my document, go to the next page. I'm going to show you a little trick here. Remember, be nice to your examiners and they should be nicer to you. Evidence 4. Now I'm going to paste that here. It didn't say a screenshot. It wanted the text. It wanted a copy of it. You can see all of this text comes out in a double line spacing. So I'm going to select all this code, and you should know how to do this because you're going to do paper 2, which is word processing. I'm going to select all of this, go to the paragraph, change this to the spacing after to 0 and line spacing single, click OK. That should make everything just a little bit tighter and neater. And there you go, fits on one page now. So much easier for your examiner to mark your paper now, okay? So go to the next page. So I'm ready for the next one. Yeah. And go to question paper. Then task 4, printing the evidence. So here you're going to print your evidence document. Okay, we've finished with the web page design. Okay, I hope you found this tutorial interesting and useful. And as always, if you did, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. See you again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.